the messaging is what matters most. You know, when people say like, oh, I pitched to 300 VCs and they all said no, but one said yes. That one that says yes is usually after you polish your story and change the way you tell it.
Miguel, I'm excited to continue our conversation now, hearing more about your journey. Tell me, where did it begin for you, and where's your story begin, and how did you get to where you are now?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm originally from Madrid, from Spain. I have an engineering background. I did mechanical engineering in Madrid, and then I went to Munich to do a master's in energy engineering in nuclear and renewable. And then I decided that I worked in engineering for a couple of internships in R&D. I decided that I was not going to work as an engineer. So I joined consulting, like a lot of people do, because I really didn't know what to do. I wanted to learn how to work. And I was instantly not passionate about consulting. So I decided to start a couple of companies on the side. I did 2 marketplaces. None of them got too much. Like, we got a few thousand users in the first one. We got a few hundred customers in the second one. We lost a little bit of money in the first one. We made a little bit of money in the second one. We learned a lot, but mostly by trial and error. So then I decided that it was time to leave consulting. And actually, if I wanted to learn about tech, which I really wanted to, I had to join a team where people actually knew how to do things. So I left consulting, joined GeoBlink, a really early stage SaaS in Madrid. And I was the first person in sales. I joined pre-revenue. And then I built the sales and customer success teams there. And then within GeoBlink, moved to the UK to lead the internationalization and build the local team, open the local market, and so on. So yeah, that's when I first encountered the problem. And then I left GeoBlink to go and pursue my MBA at Harvard Business School. And with the goal of launching a company upon graduation, and things have accelerated. They have accelerated a lot. Actually, we ended up launching the company during our first year. And now we're just 100% focused on Capchase and what the future brings, because yeah, we're seeing great demand in the market. And in terms of co-founders, right? Who do we partner with? Very quickly, 2 of my very good friends from GeoBlink, my previous company, joined Capchase as co-founders as well. And they were running product at GeoBlink. They were running 30 engineers between both of them, half in data and half in platform. And now they're doing exactly the same. Luis is leading data and underwriting, and Guli is leading platform. And then another friend from HBS that also was exposed to a problem from the investor point of view, Przemek, he also joined the team and now is leading operations. And he has a background in growth equity investing, covering SaaS and consumer at TCV, just Technology Crossover Ventures, a big fund.
Best way to be able to build a team is from people that you've already worked with, and it sounds like that worked naturally well for you. And speaking of funding, I mean, that's what you're all around in a different way, but you already mentioned that, I mean, VC funding is the way you went. Any lessons learned there of how you were able to get it and the pitch and to make that happen that you can share for others to learn from too?
Yeah, I have, I guess, one fundamental piece of advice, and is that the messaging is what matters most. You know, when people say like, oh, I pitched to 300 VCs and they all said no, but one said yes. That one that says yes is usually after you polish your story and change the way you tell it, right? It's not that the 300 didn't see anything and this guy was a visionary. It's just like, this guy or girl was a visionary. You really need to work on the messaging. And for us, it was a little bit like that, in the sense that at the beginning, VCs really liked the idea, but there was something holding them back. And then we worked on the messaging. We closed the circle that everybody was asking around, which was defensibility and, you know, like barriers of entry and so on. And then it exploded overnight. And then everybody wanted in, and it got crazy, and super hard oversubscribed. So
you're suggesting you could potentially save yourself 300 pitches by just practicing a lot more before you start pitching.
Yeah, and understanding, like getting the cues. If a company, if a VC is saying that I'm worried about this, don't try to find a VC that's not going to be worried about that. Try to think about that specific problem, incorporate in the story, and address it before anybody else. Because if you say like, we know that this is something that is going to come to your mind, you're probably thinking about barriers of entry, defensibility. We are thinking about it a lot as well, and this is how we think about it. Boom, there's this and
So
that.
address the problems up front. As soon as you find them, you address it, so you knock it out of the park.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because then a VC will be much more comfortable knowing that what they're thinking has been thought by you before, and you're actually dedicating a lot of your time thinking about those problems. Yeah.
Now you're in the earlier stages of really starting to scale up. You said tens of clients. Any marketing campaigns that or outreach campaigns that you've found most impactful so far, or is a favorite of yours that you'd recommend?
I think we're going to be ramping that up in the next couple of weeks. So up until now, everything has been mostly inbound, from press that we have appeared in, and some friendly VCs that are introducing us to portfolio companies. So that's been working really well. We are now going to build our outbound, and we are thinking of trying different channels. So we don't know yet, it's too early. So we will try different channels. And then when we find some that really work, we'll double down. And we're thinking about going to webinars, like sponsoring webinars, like sponsoring podcasts, sponsoring newsletters, participating in other events, as panelists and so on. And then, of course, finding, what are the top 10 companies that we should be working with no matter what, and then moving sky and earth to try and speak with the founders and show them why this is really a really good alternative for growth.
Speaking of these, of how you plan on marketing going forward, this is an interesting world we're in at the moment. You can't go to trade shows necessarily, going out networking. So how do you see overcoming that challenge of communicating in where everyone's digital and there's tons of noise?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't think I haven't been in any conference that replicates like a real trade show extremely well. It's just not the same as like going to a booth, speaking with a founder, they're trying to replicate it with virtual rooms, but it's just not the same for now. I'm sure that somebody will crack the nut and it will be the same. What I'm doing now is joining a couple of communities online where other founders are, just like founder, like founder support, founder advice, founder coaching, and so on, and learn a lot from them. And just like these connections and these referrals happen organically. I'm not going to those communities trying to find customers. I'm just trying to solve problems that we have, and in the process, somebody has problems that we can solve, and then it happens naturally. But yeah, it is hard. I'm not used to it at all yet.
Part of it being able to make it happen, though, is the team which you're building. How big is the team now, you said?
There's 16 of us right now.
16. Any thoughts or anything, lessons learned there of building the 16 people so that they fit and work well together?
Yeah, I think that most of this is merit of the co-founders, mostly the tech guys, Luis and Guli, because they are our largest team is tech, right? And how we're looking for people and how they get to work with each other. I think that we are optimizing for people that have a lot of initiative, right? So people that you don't necessarily need to tell them what to do. They actually tell us what they should be doing, which is amazing, right? We're trying to get people all the time that are much more smart than us, which is it's challenging. It's super hard to find those people, and then it's also like we don't want to be. We don't know about this more than any of them, right? Actually, when, for example, in the underwriting team, when they've done like 3 underwritings, they know more about underwriting than anybody else in the team, right? So we want them to be actually feel owners and propose new things. So how they're interacting with each other. We have a tech hub in Madrid. We have people also in London. We have people in Prague. We have people in Cambridge. So all this remote interaction is a little bit hard. So let me take a step back. It's very good for things like productivity and things like asynchronous communication, but it's not the same as being in the office and being able to stand up and go and ask a doubt, right? So in that sense, we are still figuring out how to do it. We don't have the answers. We're doing some team events every couple of weeks. We're doing all hands meetings to explain how the company is going, and each team shares updates every other week as well. And in terms of how they're working together, we are not seeing any problems so far. We're seeing super tight communication and collaboration, and that's really good. And we'll know more in the months that come, and we can touch base again.
Last question for you. What kind of technology innovations do you predict we all will see in the next year? So pretty short term and then long term, 5, 10 years.
Within Capchase or within the fintech space?
Overall, in technology, you can say fintech.
Yeah. So I think that's one part that has already been happening the last year and the last couple of years, and will only get more and more intensive in the future, is all the economies around APIs. You know how we're using so many APIs ourselves. We're building so many APIs, and it just makes things so much easier than before. So all these API economy is just enabling things that were really hard before, mostly around data extraction and data writing. So that is going to enable a lot of companies to build additional services on things that weren't possible now, right? All the underwriting that we do, all of the monitoring of payments that we do, all of that is built on APIs, and I just can't even think how difficult it would be to do that in the past. And we still see a lot of processes that are done manually, with phone calls, with emails, with Dropbox and so on, that could be extremely simplified with APIs. So I think that is going to drive a lot of change moving forward. And then I don't really know a lot about blockchain. I don't really understand it beyond the most basic concepts. But I think that things like smart contracts and logic embedded in blockchain is going to enable a lot of processes to become much more efficient and to require less overhead and be less prone for interpretation or mistakes. So in particular, we are planning to develop those capabilities in-house, mostly to work around smart contracts, execution of cash flows and things like that right now require a lot of overhead and a lot of delicacy working with to not make mistakes. But if it were embedded in blockchain, it could all be automatic and basically not leave room to interpretation.
Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.